Right, so part 3 today we're going to be looking at creating the beginning of our tree line. And so we've got this colour that we worked with at the end of yesterday, brushing over the foreground. And in order to work with that, we're going to bring in a little bit of this red again and the blue. You'll find that you're either going to go to a very dark blue, in which case let's bring in a bit more of that red again. We want to have a warmish purple. There we go. And we're also going to add a little bit of our yellow into that so that it becomes a brown, but it is a purple brown. Alright, so we've got that as our basic purple brown. And because it's at the bottom of our avenue, we want that to be our basic tint. Now we can always go, as we add light to it, it's going to get lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. Okay, and so we can add that light in a little bit later. We're going to start with just trying to create our basic. Now if you didn't have that background light to start, it doesn't matter. You can start with the red, the blue, and add the yellow into it with a little bit of this white, and you will get to that grayish color. Now we're going to move across into the center area where we were working yesterday and work from that central piece coming out towards us. And so from here what we're going to be doing is just some vertical brush strokes, just tickling on the outside, so we end up identifying the gateway, so to speak, of where our avenue starts, right at the back there. And we're using this basic color that we just mixed, and the idea is that we are going to work with the tops of our trees they're going to get further and further out towards us as we come out of the painting. Alright, as they come towards us, as with any avenue, the things are going to get taller and taller and taller as they come towards us. But with this basic color, we're going to try and just do some drawing. So the bottom of the trees are also going to get closer and closer and closer as they come further and further towards you. Everything is going to get bigger. You can picture almost it being like lampposts getting bigger and bigger as you come towards you. So don't put those in for now, we can go over it as we come further forward. Alright, so we will have trees that are very close. We've got their bases that flare out just a little bit at the bottom. This is a very rough start, but we're going to find that as long as we keep our bases in line there and our bases in line there, we want to just have a little gap, and then as it goes up, we're going to get them to be a little bit wider as it gets up to the top there. We don't want to worry about the total to begin with. We just want to try and get the bases in. Okay, so we do the same sort of size on the other side there. You can look at the reference and see that these things are sort of piled up on top of each other right down the bottom there. And then as they come further forward, the space between them gets a little bit bigger. Alright, so you're allowing some of this background to come through. As we come further forward, then there are bigger and bigger gaps. Then eventually at the front here, there are some bigger gaps still. Alright, starting with our base, flares out a little bit at the bottom. As it comes up, again, it's going to flare out and disappear upwards there. Okay, so as they come further up, they're going to flare out into the center. Now I'm going backwards and forwards with this brush. You'll notice I'm still using the same brush. It's on its knife. Now it says not the full face, but the side. And you find that by scrubbing, more and more of this paint comes off. Alright, so as we're going up, and you try and get as tiny, the softer you press at the back there, you'll find that the lines can be a bit smaller. Okay, and you're getting a soft edge off each of those things. A soft edge. Now at the front here, we're going to have a bit of a bigger base. Alright, and it's going to go all the way up off the top. All the way up off the top. We're going to come on top of these colours in due course. Then right at the front here, and there we have going right off the page. You think, well, why did I waste all my time doing that painting in the background there if I'm just going to paint straight over the top of it? It's just part and parcel of the course. I mean, you get better and better at. And the nice thing about oil paints, the only time I'm going back to my palette now again to get more paint. And again, I'm just going to scrub off and do the same as I did earlier, coming up as we come further and further forward. Alright, there's the next tree, giving a little bit more of a gap. Base starts there. And I'm scrubbing up. Let's get some more paint. Now the tricky thing that you'll most likely come across is you're going to run out of paint. And you'll think, well, how do I mix that again? Let's just go back and see that. How do we go and start all over again? Let's go back to the palette and see what we've got in terms of being able to mix that again. So we start with the red. We can go in right into the middle, they're nice and bold. Let's put the blue into it, and we'll find that blue is always stronger than red, so you get a darker color to start. So I should have had more red or less blue. Alright, you think we've got that color there? You can just then throw in the yellow into that color, and you're going to find, oh my goodness, what's happened now? I've ended up with maybe a bit more of a green than the original purple. So you want to, blue and yellow makes green obviously, so you want to throw in a bit more red in order to get back to that purple color. Okay, now let's pull in a little bit of light. You can put it in between the two so you know immediately that I'm getting towards that color, and there's a lighter version of that. So we're back to where we wanted to go. The whole point is always thinking, my primary colors, my tints, I've got red and blue which make purple, blue and yellow which make green, and you're adding the opposite to get to this purple, a dirty purple of some sort, these dirty browns, which, even though I say dirty, they actually remain quite clean, and you're in control of them the whole time. So let's continue to come forward here, and obviously as you came forward you would find that the colors would be a little bit darker, but as I said earlier, we can just come back and work on top of that again anyway. So we're just trying to mark out and do the drawing. So again, a little bit bigger as we come further forward here. That branch is going out. Okay, so the basic rule of a tree is that as it goes up, its branches continue to go. Especially with these London plane trees, they've got a nice sturdy base, and as they go up, they start to flare out. Okay, and it's a really quite an aggressive scrubbing motion as long as you've got those colours coming off. Now I haven't used any turpentine or liquid or thinning agent at all in order to do this. We've just gone with straight thick paint. However, if you want to, you can use a thinning agent. Now with this same brush, same paint, I'm going to bring in a couple of shadows, just dragging my brush horizontally. Now you'll see that the brush is going almost the full brush touching the surface, so that I can get the paint to come off the top that may have been left on there, and it can just drag itself off, coming off the base of those trees horizontally. These are the shadows that are going to cast themselves across. The light is coming from the left across to the right hand side. Alright, and then once you've got the paint on, you can just scrub over the top of it, so we're not digging up too much of the paint that's underneath there, and you get that colour to come straight across. You could also apply the exact same technique when you're applying the paint on the top here. You take it off the top of the brush, it might have crept up to the boot of the brush, so you just turn it so that, and you can almost even roll it as well as you're going up, and you get the paint to come off. Okay, so let's scrub that all the way across, and you might find that there's a gap. It's not going to match up with these others because we're going to eventually get the shadows to go all the way across into this field on the right hand side here. But at least we're getting the basics in of these shadows all the way across. Let's scrub that all the way across, and so almost we could say that, yeah, I'm getting these colours to come across. So literally scrubbing. What on earth is going on there? It is just creating chaos. Well, we're actually just getting a little bit of a base in order to be able to bring our leaves on top of that as well. Okay, so there we've got our very initial sort of blocking in stage to get these colours through, and that's literally only 10 minutes worth of painting in order to get that done. The trick in this particular scenario is mixing that colour so that you get the marking out of this. Alright, and that's stage 3. Stage 4, we're going to look at creating the darker parts of it. So I'll be using less of the lighter pigments, so I won't be lightening it as much. We're going to just stick to the clean pure red and blue with less of the white. So we have those nice dark. Let's just dirty it up a bit, bring in some of that red and yellow and blue, so we get that dark color. And all we're going to do is you can then start bringing in more detail onto the sides of each of these, so you get more detail coming in, which we will then work with. So right, the dark on the sides of these trees, but you start developing a sense of form. Alright, so the light's coming from that side. We can have all the darks on the right hand sides of these stems going up. Right, always on the right hand side, so we then start developing a contrast light from that side. And again on this side, you will come in, and on the right hand side of these trees you're going to just block that in. Okay, so we are continuing to scrub. And it's not a lot of detail. We're looking for a nice energetic brush stroke that is just going to give us a real raw sense of us having just participated on the canvas. Okay, so that's where we get to, and that's what you can practice in the 10 to 20 minutes, which you can roll over to be about 30. The more and more time you take, you can start to get thinner brush strokes going up, and you really take your time, maybe getting these finer details to come through, and you can create a lovely lattice of things. And what I'm going to do, we'll time lapse now the way I'm going to use that, and I might switch to a smaller brush in which we can develop the dark and light of these, and then I'm going to bring in small little branches across to create that detail, in which we can then work on top of. Before we do that, I do feel like this background is a little bit too blue, and we might not get enough of that. It might stand out a little bit too much, so I'm just going to scrub over the top of that again. And lighten up a little bit of a grey maybe on the top. We've got it in the foreground, just maybe scrub over a little bit of that in the background just to soften it off. Looks like it might have been a little bit too blue. And again, it's a dry brush that you can just scribble over the top. Our main subject matter is going to be in the foreground, and so there we go. We just got it to push back a little bit there.